Hey, everybody. This is Old Buck Dale, and you're listening to Two Old Bucks. And with me, of course, is
The other old buck. That would be
Buck
Dave.
Yeah, Old Buck Dave.
Hey, good to talk again, buddy. It's been a day or two, I guess. we've been seeing a lot of each other lately. That's kind of nice.
Yeah, Dave and I, our premise was some coffee cup conversations, and we still do that. And
Believe it or not, we still do that. We still try to cross the street
yeah,
together.
Hey, speaking of cross the street, Dave,
Yeah.
you remember when we were walking? I said I want to divert. I want to go this way for a while, and you said, "Okay, I'll tag along." So we walked a couple blocks up and a couple blocks this way, and I pointed out an intersection that I said used to have signs. Remember that?
You had curated that route. I'm telling you, I was impressed. Yes.
Yeah. Well,
I do
anyhow,
remember that.
that is the shortest distance, and I should bring our listeners up to date. This is on a major 6-lane highway that the state has kindly put little islands in the turn lane to let people cross at various, places along this road. And I would think I could probably, standing in one spot, I could probably see 3 or 4 of them in either direction, except for one place in front of a little fast food restaurant, which I pointed out to you.
You did.
Right.
I remember that. Yeah. You said, well, you got to walk a little bit back here, and so you can't.
Well,
yeah, you don't want to cross the side street right here because
I was giving all these directions to you. Watch out for this. Watch out.
Keeping me alive. Keeping me alive, man.
So the other day, it's the shortest distance to my doctor's office, and this was raining. It was raining. I could cross at the proper intersection with the light and everything. That would have been wise. I said, I'm kind of in a hurry. It is raining. I'm going to go across. Now, mind you, I'm in the middle of 6 lanes traffic, where I normally would be protected by a couple of aluminum poles that say, this is a traffic island. Anybody, can you visualize that? That little aluminum pole, tiny aluminum poles to say this is a traffic. And so yours truly is standing out in the middle there. And I was frankly really scared. I said, one of these people are going to come down that turn lane and not see those, not see me, and knock out the signs like they always do. So I stood out there, and frankly, in all those years I've crossed that street, I've never seen anybody on those islands except me. and we laugh about all the things that may take us out, and I'm thinking crossing that 6 lanes of traffic could do it. So I did make it the other day. Just want to let you know I stood out there bravely.
Don't do the island anymore. All right?
Yeah,
I remember you pointing that island. You said, "See that island there?" So, oh, yeah, the one where the metal poles are snapped off. Yeah, because people have wiped out the island.
Right.
Jeez.
So anyhow, I did make it to the doctor's office safely and sound, but I crossed at the other intersection, at the main intersection on the way back home. I didn't do that again. So
that's why Florida proudly leads the nation in pedestrian deaths, unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
Anyway.
So what's up with you?
On that up note, yeah. Hey, I just want to talk about some of the feedback we've gotten from people.
Okay.
We got several listeners wrote in about Val. People really were interested in his take on living in Russia. The courage that he showed, he claims that it was not courageous, but
I think it was.
He took a stand, and
I thought it was.
People really liked his straightforward style, the way he said it like it was, like he said what he thought. And one person even said they really liked how he's mastered the American colloquialisms. I can't even say it. And so Val, I mean, you were apologizing for your English speaking skills, but believe me, they're much better than you gave yourself credit for. And the listeners thoroughly enjoyed it. And speaking of Val, just this morning I read a story on NPR on their online website about people who have left Russia, and it focused on this one woman in particular, Alexandra Prokopenko. She didn't say, but the article said she is one of hundreds of thousands of workers who have left Russia since the war began. By one count, it's 1.3 million, but some of those people maybe just quit their jobs, 1.3 million people have left their jobs in Russia. And at least several 100,000 of them have left the country, with engineers and computer programmers in particular being the ones that have left a big gap, left in large numbers. And of course, that's Val's background. He can attest to that. And I just want to read this one quote that I took from the article from this woman, Alexandra. She said, "I'd love to go back, but I don't feel it would be safe for me. People in Russia can become prisoners for nothing." Isn't that exactly what Val said?
That's exactly what he said.
He says, you can have a sign with nothing on it and you could still get arrested. Yeah.
Well, I think the way he put it, to the way I understood it, was he said you could be holding a piece of paper that says world peace on it.
Yep.
And they can arrest you for that. I mean, holy smokes.
Yeah. And
interesting.
We also got some, I got a note from Joel, the notorious Joel. And he said he listened to the podcast. And he said what really struck him was Putler. He said he really liked that that Val had named him Putler. Anyway, and other things, Joel has said. We talked about his Matador station wagon, and he talked about it's almost ready for the road right now. He's getting some new tires and that sort of thing. And he said I've applied for a vanity license plate for the Matador. It is Olay, Olay. That's great. Always a sense of humor there.
Yeah, I was gonna say yes, he has quite the sense of humor. Well, all the best to you, Joel, if you're listening to this.
So that's some feedback we've gotten, and so we've got and we're still getting downloads in new countries on Frank Young's podcast. We now have we've got a couple in Colombia. We've got a couple in Japan. So that's good. That's good. Broadening our listener base here.
I had a thought on that, and that's a book that should be required reading for anybody who wanted to spend a lot of time away in another culture. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Be his understanding and how he approached it all. That translates, I think, to you could be in any culture, but the principles are the same. And so I would recommend anybody who thought they were going to go away for a few years on a trip or something to read the Frank Young's book.
Amen. And it's a great coming of age story as well. I mean, it's just really a great book. I was going to maybe mention this later, but maybe this is a good time to talk about it since we're talking about politics and books and travel. One of the books that Frank recommended that we didn't have time to say on the air, but I did put it in the liner notes, was Lessons from the Edge by Marie Jovanovic.
I remember.
Recall that one? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Marie is, she was the U.S. ambassador to Ukraine back in the Trump administration, when she refused to play along with basically he was trying to not blackmail, but he was trying to twist Zelensky's arm to do some not so good things. And she subsequently testified to that at the impeachment hearing. It's really a fascinating book. I'm about a third of the way through right now. So far, it's, she's been, let's see where she's been. So far, she's been stationed in Somalia, UK, Uzbekistan for a short period just to help set up an embassy there, and in Russia and Ukraine, as well as stints in DC itself. So it's a really interesting story. She talks about, her ancestors and where they came from, how they grew up, what lessons she might have learned from them. Talks about, the challenge of being, working in the State Department, being a woman in a man's world.
I'd recommend that book too. Now, I did not read it, but I followed that story when her issue was, when she was in the news. Yeah. And that is emotionally brutal, what she went through. Absolutely emotionally brutal. Those State Department people are dedicated individuals, and when they get played as a pawn, it's just takes an emotional toll on those and everybody around them. So I've
Yeah.
really felt bad for her about that.
Yeah, the book is really teaching me a lot about, how the State Department works, and the different, they call them the cones, or the kind of the ladders. You can be in management, or you can be in the political side, or it's really interesting. And I learned about some of the things that the State Department does to kind of maintain relationships, with countries around the world, and how they're constantly assessing what's going on and looking for information, and trying to distill all this into letters, into documentation that they send off to DC to help Washington make decisions. It's really fascinating, and I'm looking forward to reading the rest of the book. And so that's kind of a partial book review there.
Well, I mean, if people are interested in the subject, but I can tell you those folks are working whether you see them or not. Do you know what I mean? It's like they're always working. Even it's like the waves of the ocean. Even if you don't see them, they're still crashing the shore. Those guys are the same way. Those diplomats and State Department people are on the job day in, day, 24/7, year round, whether you hear about them or not.
Yeah.
In the world.
Well, that's for sure. I mean, she's talking about dodging bullets and
other things.
Yeah. She was in Russia when Yeltsin, was in charge, and they tried to do a palace coup from the anyway. I won't go into all of that, but it's just
don't give away all that history.
It's a terrific book. It's a terrific book. So thanks to Frank for recommending it. Let's change horses in midstream here. It's stump the buck time.
Oh, okay. So you ran across something interesting again. Okay.
I did.
Lay it on me. See if I can figure out.
And I actually inadvertently gave you the first clue already.
Oh, okay.
But it's okay. So anyway, this is going to you're going to get this one. Okay. It's about rebranding. And the first clue is changed horses in midstream.
Changed horses in midstream. And you're giving me a sort of a subtle clue that has to do with rebranding.
Rebranding is kind of is the answer here. Yeah, it's a changed horses in midstream.
Midstream. Okay, this is current event stuff.
Current event, baby. This is hot. This is hot.
Nothing to do with Elon, I hope. All right. Okay.
Oh no, I don't like to mention his name if I don't have to.
All right, give me another clue.
All right. Founded in 1972. And now abandoned.
Founded in 1972 and now abandoned.
Mm-hmm.
And you're giving me a clue that it was rebranded, so it still exists under another name.
Yes, that's what we're going for here.
That's what we're going for. So what?
I'm going to get. You want the third clue, or
yeah? Give me the third clue.
You're going to nail it on the third clue. Opposite of min.
I'm listening.
I just gave you the clue. Opposite of min.
Opposite of min.
Mm-hmm.
Opposite of min.
Come on, you got to have this one. No?
I'm telling you, opposite of min. What could be the opposite of min? I don't know.
Okay. All right. You've heard of HBO, right?
I've heard of HBO.
HBO. Okay. What did HBO just do?
Did they merge or something? What did they do?
They changed their name to Max.
To Mac.
Max, M-A-X. Max is the opposite of min.
Oh yeah. I saw that.
HBO, horses in midstream, streaming service, 172.
Yeah, Max.
Yeah. Maybe
wonder why they did that.
That's the question a lot of people are asking. Because it's a strong brand name. It's been around since 72. Everybody knows what HBO is. Max? What? It just seems dumb.
Hey, interesting you picked that up. I would have never put that together, but I know that I've seen that Max prefix used on other things, like Max Burgers or, Max something, indicating it's the epitome or the top of the line or something like that.
As in maximum, yeah.
There's even something called Max Health. They tack that prefix on
Mhm.
it. So
This is just Max.
this is just Max. Okay, it's
Mhm.
not Max Showtime, Max Movie, nothing. It's just Max.
It's Max. Yeah.
By the time I'm 85, I'll probably, accept it as being Max.
You will accept
Yeah,
it.
I'll just, I'll click on it. It'll be Max. What do I know? Those things just grow on you, I suppose.
That's like when I was talking to my wife about this, and she says, it's just like in Pittsburgh. She says, does anybody know Acrisure Stadium? No, it's
Not
Heinz
yet.
Field.
Not
She
yet.
says it'll always be Heinz Field. Maybe in 20 years it'll be Acrisure, but people, everybody wants to call it Heinz Field. Just like everybody wants to call this HBO.
I wanted to tell you, I ran into this is kind of like preface this old buck stuff. Clearly, I discovered recently. In fact, this is how I discovered it. My wife said to me, she said, "What are you making for supper?" I said, "Nothing." And she said, "Why?" I said, "Because I have cholesterol."
Oh no!
And she says, "When did you get that?" I said, "I just found out about it today."
I just bought some.
He said, "Oh, yesterday you didn't
You
have
gotta-
it, so you could cook. Today
yesterday you didn't have it.
Now your life is going to change. No.
Going vegan on me, huh?
Yeah. So
tell me about this. What happened?
anyhow, so this old buck thing, there's in my quiet time, I'm thinking I had some old buck issues, and one of them required me to get some baby aspirin, low dosage aspirin.
Yep.
So I said, okay. I mean, I don't stock any of that, so I'm sure people can relate to this. So I get my baby aspirin, and I'm going to assemble this baby aspirin amongst the trays of little plastic containers with all the with the days that have the dates on them. The days on them, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. There's little plastic containers.
Yeah, I do know.
You have one of those, don't you?
I do have one of those.
So I said, okay, I'll get organized with this, and I'll build my thing. And I popped the top on my baby aspirin, and there's a seal there. All right, okay. So I grabbed a pencil and punctured that.
Okay, yeah.
And then,
like a little metallic
right,
top glued on, yeah.
Right, and then I ran into a
impenetrable
problem. Yeah, and that's when I ran into a problem. Now I said, I said, how am I going to get the cotton out of this little tiny bottle?
Yeah.
So people,
hey, I got a question.
You listeners are thinking about this, right?
How'd you get the cotton out of the little bottle? This is going to be another public service announcement here. By the looks of it.
Yeah, the obvious thing to do would have been to get up from where I was sitting and to either search for a pair of tweezers, which I probably would have never found, or to go into the kitchen and just get a bread knife and cut the bottom of the bottle off. You know what I mean?
Those would be the easy way.
Yeah, that would be the simplest thing to do. So I'm sitting up thinking, man, this is probably a real dilemma for anybody who has a, problem with their hands, or, you're not quite that nimble. So I'm thinking, how am I going to get this out of there? No, of course I did not get up. I immediately, I stayed where I was at, because I was bound and determined I was going to do it without getting up from the chair I was in.
Okay. I was
so there's the reason.
Self-imposed constraint.
Yeah. So I'm bound to figure this out. That makes sense, right?
That makes sense. Yeah.
So I look around. I said, well, here's my this is my watchmaker toolbox. That was handy. That's usually handy if I'm changing a watch battery or something. So I said, let me go in there and see if I can find something that's like a hook.
Mm-hmm.
So I opens that up and I dig through that. No, nothing would solve that. I close that down thinking, well, my regular toolkit with my more heavier duty tools are not within arm's reach. Let me see if maybe I'll just get a coat hanger and
jeez,
and trim it back and make some kind of a hook out of a piece of wire. Well, I said, no, that's not going to work either, because they don't make wire coat hangers anymore.
That's right. That's a big problem.
So you can see my analysis. I don't know why I do this. I should have cut the bottom off with the bread knife. It would have been quicker. So what I finally decided to do, I said, what the hell can I do to get inside that thing? I can't reach in with my fingers. So I found a small pair of scissors, and
Small pair of scissors. Okay.
small pair of scissors. Now they then acted like needle nose pliers.
Okay.
So I gets the scissors and I'm holding them in my forefinger and thumb, and I'm sticking them in the box in the small little hole, and I'm pulling it out slowly because you can't bite on it too hard because you just cut it, right? So I'm finally pulling it slowly, slowly. And it took me a while to dig all that out of there where I could pour them out of there. But I thought that was an interesting dilemma,
That's
for old folks.
that's quite a
I mean,
dilemma.
we try to warn people, the old bucks are
Yeah,
out there. We're ahead
God.
of the curve on some of these things,
So like, so you weren't late for work or anything as a result of taking all
No,
this time with this.
no, I just, after I got that open, I just kept assembling the
Probably nap
pills,
time by then, right?
putting the pills. Old Buck Terry, if he's listening, he'll probably be able to relate to that.
Uh-oh.
He probably will chime in with a better way to do it.
He'll have a better way to do it. You
They
can
can
count
even
on
shop
that.
and put the air hose on it or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. It always gives us a chuckle if that subject comes up in the. I mean, if we bring this up in a Starbucks or a coffee shop, we usually
Yeah.
roll on the floor laughing at each other.
Yeah.
So
That's funny. Speaking of Terry, the other day,
Mm.
like you get like if you have two of something, you say, "Hey, I got two of these. You want one of these?" He says, he sends me, he says, "I got a MIG welder that I'm not using." He says, "You want it?"
yeah. How often do you use that?
Yeah.
Use that to repair your glasses or something
Yeah.
like that. Get that little
Get the MIG
hinge.
welder out.
Well, thanks, old Buck Terry, for even offering that.
Yeah.
I got another question for you.
He's a peach. Yes, sir.
Here's a question for you.
Just like-
We're in
okay.
a zone now. Do you notice that the hurricane season has started?
Yes, I've noticed that. I'm already making adaptations to outside my sliders here to keep the water out of the house.
Okay, so you are making preparations. I've already done
I
that.
am.
I've done that too, some things. But why I'm making a note to this was it says these are the things you should have. And oftentimes there's a ton of panic buying for water batteries and so on and so forth.
Oh yeah.
And I did go through a hurricane. I mean, I was properly.
Yes, you did.
I went through it, and I was properly scared to death.
You were not happy about it.
I was not happy about that at all.
Properly scared to death.
I was properly scared to death, and I have. But having 24 boxes of batteries wouldn't have made any difference. Once the sky cleared up, I didn't need those anymore. You only have a few hours of sort of darkness. Now, I admit the lack of power does cause some problems, but there usually is somebody's got a gas grill somewhere. You could always cook something. The reason I mention this to you is they talk about all these preparations, but really, it turns out to be the debris field after the hurricane that is the most troublesome. You can't move around with junk on the roads. And I actually believe that because people panic, they contribute a whole bunch to the problem. You know what I mean? Some people should evacuate, like those folks on those barrier islands or something. They say evacuate. They should really go ahead and make sure that their stuff is tied down and leave the island, so there's not a lot of salvage or emergency vehicles trying to help them after that. But the rest of the time, I mean, if you're going to go, you need to go early and leave whatever you leave behind. But I believe when they say prepare, I mean, there's not even a hurricane coming off the coast of Africa to worry about yet before the panic starts. So, 12 cases of water isn't going to help. It'll be stale by the time I get around to doing that. But
what's your point here? What's your point?
My point is that
you're losing me, buddy.
I think the point when it comes to hurricanes is I think people just need not to panic. Buy reasonable amounts. Make sure you do have a good working flashlight and a few small things. And if you're decide to stay home and you're watching your neighbor's roof come off slowly but surely, then it is what it is. Not like a tornado where you're like, huh, what tornado?
Yeah.
The whole neighborhood's gone. So that's a slow agony for this preparation for things. But take it seriously. We know what they can do and prepare for whatever you feel is right, but don't panic.
Just kind of like
that's all I have to say about that, because I don't think I'm making any sense.
Well, it's like two public service announcements in one or something like that. Anyway, no, it's good. That's good. Hey, speaking of HBO, You remember HBO?
I do.
Yeah. I just finished watching probably one of the greatest series ever. You're going to guess what this is because you've heard me whine about it before.
I think it's called Succession or something.
Succession. Yeah. Succession ended season 4, final season finale last Sunday night. Just a great ending to a great show. I just can't tell you how much I enjoyed watching this. The writing was great. The acting was great. You know, it's all about the Roy family. They show you basically that money only makes a dysfunctional family more dysfunctional. Okay, you're rich and dysfunctional, and you can even be more so. I'm going to pat myself on the back for this one. I'm not going to tell the ending, but I will say that I correctly predicted the ending to this series, and actually I predicted it 2 seasons ago. So
you
so way to go,
that
Dave.
to amongst your neighbors and other watchers or something, or basically to your wife.
To a couple people, yeah. There's not. Unfortunately, there's not many people that it gets high ratings, but nobody I know watches it. So I got 1 or 2 people that I can talk to about it, and so we yuck it up the next day.
Actually, I heard a little bit about that on I think one of the major news stations were mentioned that how good that was, and they didn't give the ending away either, but they said it was a great story. Maybe it'll be around where I'll catch up.
Well, you can still watch it. It's still there.
Binge the whole thing. Yeah, I might be able to do that.
Get that $5 out of your wallet and sign up for HBO or whatever. I don't know what it costs. It's not HBO. I'm sorry. It's Max. It's Max.
It's on Max now. Yeah. Hey, one last thing that I just thought of for all the old bucks out there. You remember old Buck Matarats that lives up in Georgia? I used to talk about him. We ought to give him a shout out.
You do talk about him from time to time, yeah.
Well, for all the old bucks listening, he's in his 80s, and he's probably like a lot of us who are not sure what our limits are. Is that a nice way to say that?
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like
we still think we're 19.
Like
that kind of thing.
How high a ladder we should climb, or what else we should do, or
Don't tell me he fell off a ladder. Don't tell me that.
No, I just want to give a shout out to him and wish him well, because he decides to take off on his lawnmower, and got too close to the slope.
Oh no!
And yeah, he rolled it over.
He rolled it.
And he got thoroughly banged up. I mean, even with all the things that happen to you when you get old, adding that to it is just not a good thing. I mean, if you're a little bit sore of this, or you're got a bad hip or something, don't add to it by rolling a lawnmower over on top of you into a creek, and then having the neighbors have to drag you out with the emergency people and head injuries. So if old Buck Matarazzo is listening, I wish him the very best. I know he's going to be in rehab for a long time, and I don't know how he's going to cope with this one. He might not be the same when he comes out. So I guess we all have to learn what our capabilities are once we get a certain age. So all the best to him.
Okay, best to you, man. Best to you. Get well. Be careful. Be careful out there. Yeah.
Dave, we got anything exciting coming up?
Well, I'm going to visit my grandsons again here.
Well, you got a trip planned. That's right. You're heading out on
and then I got a big trip to Europe. Yeah. France.
So you'll be calling in. Calling in as the foreign correspondent.
Yeah. We'll be giving some more tips the closer we get to that. It's gonna be fun. Be doing some travel logs.
And I told you I had a trip planned too, a short trip.
Yeah.
And basically, what I was going to do, I was going to go someplace completely cold turkey. I was just gonna get on a plane and fly someplace and get off and see if I could survive there for a couple of days. I wasn't. I was going to book everything, organize everything as I went.
All right.
Am I crazy or what?
That's like the old days.
I'll let you know how this worked out.
Let me know how it works out. Yeah.
I might be getting by on the kindness of strangers. Who knows?
Well, back in the old days, that's the way I would book trips. Like if we'd go to Europe, I'd book I'd book the first night hotel over there and the last night hotel. And between that, it was just, let's go and see what happens. I don't do that. I don't do that anymore.
Well, what an adventure that was. I'm sure
I don't do that anymore. Yeah, we did have some adventures. We really did. We really did. Slept in a basement one night, but that's okay. That's okay.
Hey, there's a memory for you.
It's a memory. It's a memory. Yeah, yeah. Hey, speaking of travel, I got something that reminds me of something else that I've been hanging on to for a week or two here. You know, Rainn Wilson,
Do I know him?
the actor. Well, I'm not I don't think you know him personally. He's the guy that played Dwight Schrute on The Office.
Oh yeah. I do know
He was
about
the
him.
sales guy, the marketing guy. Anyway, he's got a little mini series out. It's called Rainn Wilson and the Geography of Bliss. It's on Peacock. You know, he's taken a book that was written, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago about bliss, where this writer from, I think he's a New York Times writer, Eric Weiner. He rates the happiness of like a bunch of countries in the world. This is the happiest country. This is the unhappiest country, kind of thing. Anyway, so he's going to he's visiting a couple of these countries, and I've watched the first two episodes. The first episode was he goes to Iceland, which is the third happiest country on the list, and second week he went to Bulgaria, which is kind of in the middle of the happiness list, and it was fun. You get a bit of the flavor of the country. I've been to both Iceland and Bulgaria, so I could really identify with some of the things that they were doing and some of the issues they were identifying in the country, and pluses and minuses kind of thing. And he's kind of searching for what does happiness really mean. It's kind of I don't know. It's kind of a kinder, gentler Anthony Bourdain show. It's not like a 5-star show, but it's cute. And you learn a little bit about him. You think, oh, he's an actor. He's big guy. He's kind of insecure, as it turns out, and always found himself to be an insider. Maybe like a lot of actors are. I don't know. But
he is a pretty talented. He's got multi-talented somebody.
It's pretty cute. It's pretty cute. There's something in both episodes that made me just smile. Anyway, so that's Rainn Wilson and the Geography of Bliss on Peacock.
Well, you can check that out. But you have traveled. There's no doubt about that. You've seen some places. But you don't stay there for months and months on end. Usually only a couple, 3 weeks or something like that max.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Just enough to find a good coffee shop and enjoy it a few times.
Yeah, honest.
And you got to come back to Normalville.
Come back. Yeah. That's like Frank Young says, you come back home and the furniture's all in the wrong places, because your view of the world has changed a little bit.
Hey, that's absolutely true. That was the truest thing he said. He said the adjustment really was when you come home.
Yeah. And by the way, Valentin mentioned that also. He said that was the thing that grabbed him from Frank's interview. That he says, "Yep, that's so true, man." So,
well, Dave, what do you think? The coffee shop, they never asked us to leave, but eventually we got to,
But you've got your vegan diet to work with now, right? So you got
a boiled potato and 6 roasted peanuts. That should take the weight off.
Roasted peanuts. I don't know.
Well, only 6 because they get, that shouldn't be too much. I don't know how I'm going to cope with that. We'll see. I'll give you an update on it over time. Anyhow, this is Old Buck Dale. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed our banter, and we'll talk to you next time.
And this is Old Buck Dave right behind him saying thanks again. Good talking to you, dude, and everybody else out there. Talk to you next week. Bye-bye.